Okay, so there is no one. No one has lost anything and no one will find anything. What happens, what seems to be happening is a timeless appearance. It just is like that, so to speak. That's why also no one ever arrives. It's natural. There is no one who will arrive. And liberation isn't someone arriving anywhere. It's the collapse of that illusion that there is a separate entity which is on a path towards something. And this collapse or this illusion isn't replaced with anything. It's not replaced with someone, as I said, who has arrived or who became liberated or stuff like that. So there is nothing to gain in that sense. There is no one who can achieve a stable state of fulfillment. And of course, that's the assumption within the dream. And it comes from the illusion of one's own stability. I am, I exist. That's the experience of stability and continuity, one could say. I am. That's just how it feels. That's the experience of pure presence, pure existence. And I know it might seem very impersonal. There are loads of spiritual teachings which would claim this to be the non dual state. When there is so-called non-dual awareness, or rather an experience of being this one existence, this one presence, this one reality. That's how they would define non-duality. But in their idea, their concept of non-duality, there is one reality left. There is one thing left. And the problem is, the moment you have one thing in the experience, you automatically have a second. So the consciousness is always embedded into a space, or there's a space around. They also would claim that there is one reality, but that there is an illusory appearance. So it's still kind of referential. It's still referring to something else. What we talk about here is very different because what turns out in liberation, so to speak, is that even the one, this one consciousness, this experience to be one reality, one thing, is illusory. And that this separation between real and unreal, and me, not me, is absolutely illusory as well. So it's the one which doesn't have any substance. It's the me which is an illusion. And in that sense, it doesn't matter if it's a pure experience of oneself, if it's the pure presence experience, or if it goes together with loads of stories and ideas and beliefs and concepts. It's always the same seemingly unfulfilling experience. So that's what's meant here when I say that there is no one. There really isn't one. Neither one consciousness nor one presence. Something that experiences itself to be in a certain way. So this reality is boundless. What seems to be happening is boundless, and it's not divided into subject-object. It's not divided into real and unreal. It's not divided into feeling fulfilled and feeling unfulfilled. It's all what seems to be happening. And in that sense, it's a no reality. It's not one reality that is in a certain way. It's a no reality. That's it. That's all there is. Sitting in front of a screen, not being anything.
Thank you very much for this introduction.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving these talks.
Thank you. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. Was holding back for a moment, but I couldn't.
Hi, Andreas.
Hi. Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
My voice is kind of bad. I apologize for that. I've had the flu last couple of weeks. This idea of universal consciousness that people have, firstly, why do you think that a person could have an experience of and even report that there's no object and there's no subject, but they still feel that there's this awareness, this consciousness?
Well, I think in a very funny way, I mean, I can't really explain it, but I think in a very funny way, they can't see that it's a subjective experience. I think it can just feel so pure and impersonal. And so all that is, that it can't be objectified or subjectified, really.
Well, one has to wonder.
If you would ask them sincerely, and where do you feel that? And they would be able to give a sincere answer. I think they would need to say the root of that experience is now here in their body. But I guess that most of them wouldn't be able to answer that sincerely. They can't go there even. But I think it can feel omnipresent, for example. Just a cloud of awareness, a cloud of beingness, consciousness. And I think it's, it seems that this can be easily overlooked, that it's actually another personal experience. But I can understand, sorry, one more sentence, but I can understand that within that experience, the impression of there being objects isn't there.
Seems contradictory.
Well, it is contradictory.
Yeah.
But I think the me can't see that. The me can't see through its own contradictions, because it's not really a logical contradiction, it's an experience.
So if you were to ask them, what is consciousness conscious of? They would likely say it's conscious of itself.
Exactly. So again, in a very funny way, you have subject-object. That's when the subject and the object become the same thing, apparently.
Yeah, and for some reason, it's really hard to see through that.
I'd say it's actually impossible for the person to see through that out of its own experience or out of its own will or possibility. It can't do that.
Yeah, that's really the key. The experience, the person, even when they see no subject, no object, it's still for them an experience.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's all the person knows.
yeah.
So I think when there hasn't been a crack in that experience, or when there hasn't been this message around, which I'd say is the same thing, a crack in the experience, it's impossible to see for the person. Because to experience is literally the only thing it knows and the only thing it can imagine. That's why there are so many teachers out there who can teach non-dual awareness for decades. And there is no possibility to see through that. It's the only, for the seeker, the only possibility is to be and to experience. It's amazing.
It's like they're almost there, but they're just,
Well, they are not almost there because it's just another personal experience. So I don't even think that it's closer because it never stays there. You know, it's as it's as unsatisfying as any other personal experience. So pretty quickly, you'll have a huge set of concepts coming out of that, a teaching, paths, a mindset. I think the actual experience never stays that pure. It's like this for moments, but sooner or later, there'll be a very complicated theology coming out of it. And the story.
well, they certainly come across that way. They come across very peaceful, content, calm, and all of those things, but they still have this apparent contradiction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say that for most spiritual or for most people like that, I mean, it's very generalizing. I mean, many people are quite relaxed anyway. If there's not if they don't have a real
That's
problem,
true, yeah.
if not their house has burned down recently or cancer is developing or something, people are kind of okay to a certain degree. And I think that a lot of spiritual people regard it as their job to be peaceful and to appear peaceful, but also to themselves. They think that's what life's about. I was very peaceful when I was in spirituality. It was an artificial peace, but that was what I was working on, to be in a peaceful state. So, and to a certain degree, it seems to work. So I think it's not that difficult to come across peaceful when that's your mindset.
Or that's what you think this should be.
Yeah, exactly. Like some people who work on having a lot of money, they might have a lot of money. And people who work on having peaceful feelings, they might have a lot of peaceful feelings.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, that's very attractive for people.
Yeah, I thought, why should I earn more money? I can just work directly on being happy. It just sounded way more logical than all the other things. But it was work. It was constant work. But again, that's the normal personal experience. So I think the person can't even really doubt that. It feels so natural to be on a path and to do something that I think there are hardly any question marks about that. That's actually weird. In a way, for many people, it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like life going on, creating, as if it's a positive force. Creating peace. Great, gorgeous. Let's go forward. What should I do? I'm happy to do more of it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even, for many seekers, it doesn't even seem like a burden or this work. It's more like hope and power and force, and I'm on a path and it's good and I know and I am someone. So it doesn't even feel negative. It feels like a positive movement.
But at some point, I think it's inevitable that that would collapse.
Yeah, I know that's what we think because we all had those cracks, so to speak. So it seems logical that actually, theoretically, it should become obvious. But most people, the body just dies without ever having a crack or without ever having seen through that. Also in spirituality, so many monks, full-time spiritual people, spiritual teachers, they just teach their thing their whole life, as I said, for decades, for 40, 50, 60 years, until they die. And there was never any, well, I know that's just words, but there was never any clarity or openness to what we talk about here. It just wasn't happening. And they couldn't do it. Like the me can't do it. The me can't become clear or aware of what we talk about here out of itself. It doesn't have the capacity, because it only consists of being that illusion.
Yes. It's kind of hard to comprehend how it can be that way.
Yeah. Again, that's incomprehensible wholeness. That it seems to be like that is the natural, incomprehensible reality. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, crazy.
But
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thanks. But I know when it becomes obvious, or when there is a crack, or when this illusion crumbles, it seems so natural that this happens, that the seeking turns out to be an illusion, or that it has been an illusion, or at least isn't as real as it seemed. It feels so natural. But for most people, it seems this doesn't happen at all, ever in their whole life. Well, we talked about it. I mean, 80 years in eternity or 80 years in timelessness isn't very much. So life passes quickly, but it's not really a long time to experience oneself as a me for 80 years. It's a finger snap, actually. Within a personal story, it might sound dramatic. Our whole life just being an illusion. Horrible. Well, it's all right. Without ever having seen the light. Well, there's no one who sees the light. There's no truth.
Well, there's no 80 years and there's no life either. The whole thing is
All of that doesn't exist
it
exactly.
doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah. All of it is this timeless, incomprehensible appearance that doesn't happen to anyone.
I would say they're the lucky ones that don't get to get to keep going. You know, I mean, obviously there isn't anybody, but it's
Thank you.
because for the individual, this message is absolutely the worst. So in that way, once there's a crack, you're screwed, most likely. You're gonna have to either you're gonna have to work really hard for the rest of your life to try to pave your own way, which is probably gonna end up being very exhausting.
Yeah, well, in a way, I don't see anyone who's really suffering more
Yeah, I know.
for having heard this message than they did before. But I know what you mean. There's this irritation kicking in.
You don't see anyone, but the suffering can be
Yeah,
quite
but
a lot.
I don't see that either, really. I mean, I know what you mean. It can happen, but I don't know anyone here really who said, "Oh, I was so happy all my life, all the time, and then this message came and I started suffering deeply."
That would be my cue to join in. No, maybe not suffering, but you mentioned it correctly. An irritation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the irritation has been there before, but now it comes to the foreground.
But I didn't know the irritation was there before.
That's what
No, I was
exactly what
fine.
I was referring
Yeah,
to. As
I'm
long as you
fine.
don't know, sorry, Jack.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Correct. I already thought I knew it. I had the answers. People, I had the answers. And
mm,
then there was that moment of hearing you, and suddenly it's like, I don't know anything.
mm.
And that's like there was an irritation. There was a fascination and irritation simultaneously happened at the same time. Yeah. And I was also, I don't hear anyone talk like you do. I don't hear anyone else talk like you do.
Mm.
You are never self-referential. Yeah,
Yeah, there is no one.
exactly. And
Mm.
it's anywhere.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm still glad I heard it. Even though I don't exist, I'm still glad I heard it.
Mm, mm, mm.
It don't matter. It's just theoretical stuff anyway. But
Mm.
since we were talking about it, I just
Yeah, of
say,
course. Yeah, same from the sea. I mean, you are
so
perfectly.
what I was saying is that um, if you the crack is sort of another possibility, if you will. But then, as if the individual, it's like wearing an overtight shoe, and everybody wears an overtight shoe, and that's how you walked around all your life. So you develop the certain way to walk because you're having that shoe, your
Yeah,
bone
you are
structure,
kind of
everything goes in that way,
adapting,
you know?
kind of.
But
Yeah,
for for if you hear this message, and I can't come up with any other example,
yeah,
then it's like your shoe comes off. Oh my God! And then it's back on, and then it's tight, and then it's worse than ever after that.
yeah,
This is what I mean. Whereas before that, you take your pills. My legs hurt. I don't know why. If you haven't heard this, so you take all sorts of medications
yeah,
for that anyway.
yeah, yes, yeah. One can say it like that. Yeah, yeah.
Now, one more thing on about what Phil was saying, and this is again just pure hypothetical or intellectual, if you will. But Richard says that there can be like a spectrum of there's a possibility perhaps that the sense of individuality can go, but then there may still be a large remaining sense of presence all permeating everything, or not awareness, but like sense of existence or some sort of absolute.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that's just another personal experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how the person experiences itself. In the end, all there is I am, all there is awareness. And in a way, its experience is that its awareness is permeating everything. That's why
Or aliveness.
That's why there are a lot of spiritual teachers which say, actually, all there is awareness. Actually, a stone isn't a stone. Actually, it is awareness. because what they refer to is their awareness permeating everything. That's how it feels. It's not wrong saying that. It's not just a mind thing. It is the person's experience. And in a way, we also say it here. The person says the wall only is a wall because it's permeated by my experience, by my awareness. That's the impression. But in the personal experience, that's the only reality.
Do you think someone can talk in this manner and have some sort of, when he talks about almost exactly the same way, let's say you or...
I know.
No? And like an overall sense of presence left, but not...
No.
No.
I mean, you know, it's so hard to say what anyone means. I wouldn't use that word, especially when the word sense comes in.
Oh, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about somebody who still has a personal awareness,
totally,
awareness,
yeah.
but then still not give any advice. Anyway, it doesn't.
Yes, yes and no. I think sooner or later there would be coming an advice out of it, but in a very funny way, they could say, I've read, I mean, actually there's one guy, I don't want to say the name, it's the guy who only wrote 3 books, and then he wrote a 4th book, but he does it like that. He said they can say, but in a very funny way, it still remains within a teaching, or a teaching comes out of it. They too can say there is no path to that because you already are that. They can say it's impossible for you to become awareness because you already are awareness. So conceptually, they can also let the path away. They can also say there is no path to who you are. Because when you look closely, you are already there. The awareness is effortlessly there. But then they would somehow start to try to point out to you that it is like that. So sooner or later, they will ask you to inquire, to have a look, to recognize that you already are that. But they could also say, of course, there is no path to who you already are. Lots of them actually say this. They also would say, all you need to do is to get rid of the obstacles. And who you are will be naturally left. And that again is the personal experience. It's already there. It can't go before it was there. So again, it feels natural and according to one's experience. That's why in some Advaita awareness teachings, this sounds so close, because they say you already are that. The natural reality is already the case. They referring to the experience of awareness. They would say that's what you are effortlessly. You don't have to do anything to become awareness. You are that already. And it sounds utterly, utterly similar. And it's so, so different.
Or let's just even say, switch the word from awareness and consciousness and say aliveness.
Yeah.
Or beingness.
Exactly.
Absolute.
Absolute.
Yeah.
The absolute, exactly. The absolute. The presence. The aliveness. The all pervasive energy.
Wholeness, oneness.
Yeah. Vibration. Some would say there's just an energy. Everything is just vibration as an experience. But as I said, my impression is where this can be left alone. Sooner or later, or not sooner or later, there will be a teaching coming out of it. because they want you to see it. And they also somehow have to remain that experience or keep that experience up. But I also think that there are people who just don't care at some point, and they just go on living their daily life as me and just carry around those concepts as convictions. It just becomes so normal to know this, like 1 + 1 is 2. So after 10, 20, 30 years of knowing this, it just can feel to themselves like, yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course I'm pure awareness. I mean, what's the big deal? They can even talk with a conviction, and it may even sound natural somehow, because they are just used to knowing that, and they're just so used to living in that concept. Like for some people, it feels totally natural to believe in God. I mean, after 30 years of living in that story, it might not feel like a big deal. Of course, I believe in God. There is God. Only when you start going into a deeper discussion with them, you notice how important it is to them that there is God.
Was it Jed McKenna who you didn't want to mention?
Yeah, exactly. I was
Go
really
ahead.
disappointed because I liked his book so much.
I liked his writing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was interesting and fun and good ideas also about the impossibility of getting something. And then he wrote this 4th book, and where he said it's the answer is that all there
It's
is
already in your
awareness.
first book too, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but
Find out what's true.
yeah, of course. Yeah, he was constantly having some methods and stuff.
I wish any of those. I mean, none of them worked for me from the start. So I wish they did. That I could grab into.
Mm.
So funny. I see how in everyday life one wants to, all the little things that one does. It's sort of, patching up the little holes in the me some sort of way. That it keeps so it can stay alive and continue. Whatever it does, it's so funny. It permeates everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, that's where these ideas come from, also in some traditional writings, that the I is the creator of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in that sense, it's true.
In that sense, it's true, yeah. What it can't see is that it's an illusion, and that the world it creates is illusory as well. But seen from the personal experience, yeah, it feels like that. And it's not just an invented concept, it's based on this experience. The moment I'm here, the moment I'm aware, the world seems to become real and alive. And all only because of my awareness.
And this can be totally subconscious.
In the end, it usually is subconscious.
Well, yeah.
It's so natural for the person. Well, no one's doing it.
To do that, yeah.
And for the person, that's the given experience. That's the given reality. That's just how it is in the personal world.
Mm.
And it can't go beyond that. I mean, a lot of spiritual seekers, and I was one of them, I was sincere in my seeking. I wanted to know. And the only valid conclusion that is at the end of every spiritual path is I am. All I can say is that I am, and all I can say is that there is awareness. The seeker will never be able to go beyond that. Never.
Thanks.
Thank you. There's a question. They just say there is definitely not nothing at the end. stuff like neti, landing on who's the one knowing I'm not the body. Yeah, exactly. At the end of the inquiry, there's never nothing. There's always something. And that's the me. All the me can find is itself. I'm awareness. I'm real. And as I said, coming from this experience, that's not even wrong. The only thing that the seeker can't see is that itself is an illusion. And this only becomes obvious to no one when this illusion collapses, as a surprise, unexpectedly. But in this collapse, nothing is gained, because the illusion doesn't collapse for someone. And that's when all value system and all better or worse and all differences in that sense collapse or turn out to have been illusory. All right, so there is no one. There's just what seems to be happening. And what seems to be happening is this total, full-on, empty and unreal appearance. That's all there is. Sitting in front of a screen, getting up from the screen, doing whatever is being done, being real and unreal. That's all there is. There's no one separate from it. No one has lost something, and no one needs to gain something. It's total. Thanks a lot for joining. I wish you a lovely time. Nice to see you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.